This is Towanna Freeman with Black Life Coaches Network. Thank you for joining me for another episode of BLC TV. Okay, it's part two time. I could not let Coach Crystal leave us without answering a very important question. In the last episode, she was bringing home some real important some real important information that we all could learn from. But there is one side of this relationship puzzle that I really would like to get her feedback on. And so we have today our wonderful guest, Coach Crystal Sylvester. How are you? How are you today?
I'm wonderful, wonderful.
Okay, so
Yes.
we are in part two. And in the last episode, you gave us the dose on improving, working on ourselves, improving ourselves first, doing the work so that we can become, better mates,
hmm
better soulmates, better companions. So, Crystal, this is the deal. And this is a thick one. So, bail out if you want to, but I
No, no.
think I think you can
I
handle
love
it.
this one.
I think you can handle it. This is the question. We are doing all the work. Women, we are putting in the time, the energy, we're getting coaching, we're even going through therapy and counseling. We're doing everything we can to work on ourselves so that we can be better soulmates.
Mhm.
So the question, Crystal, is what happens when husband, your significant other in your life is not doing the work like you're doing? What happens?
Well, here I have a little personal experience with that. I've been married twice. So widowed once and remarried. And the thing is, when we're doing the work, and I was just talking with my husband about this other day, one of the main reasons that they say marriage counseling doesn't work is because usually one person is going into it hoping to change the other person or
Mm-hmm.
hoping to convince the other person. And so something happens when we're doing it for ourselves. And so that would be the first place I would encourage anyone looking to look is that, am I really doing this for me, or am I doing it crossing my fingers and hoping that he'll get it and he'll make the change? Because if that's the reason you're doing it, it's really not authentic. And so it's about him, which and the thing is that energetically, right? And I know this is gonna sound woo-woo, but when I show up one way, I'm gonna get one set of results. It's not the actions. You know how people say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you're doing, it's your intentions and your motives behind what you're doing. Like I was talking with a young lady once, and we didn't turn out to be a good fit, coach and client, but she's dating this guy, and she wanted the relationship to go further. And the gentleman told her he thought she was a little too controlling. And so she said, well, I want you to help me show him that I'm not controlling. I said, so
Mm.
what you're asking me to do is help you control him into believing that you're not controlling. There's no, what about letting go of some of the control?
Right,
Right? Because that's the thing. And so a lot of the times we're doing things, and when we really get honest with ourselves, it's not for our better. It's not for our betterment. It's not for us to be better people. It's for us to be better people so we can get something else.
right.
And so sometimes, you know, that can be a big part of why the other person isn't responding, because relationships are like a dance, right? And so if we go left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 then I decide I'm going to go left, left. Well, then the whole relationship shifts because he's still going to take that extra step. So if I change the way I dance, the relationship will change.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it may change for the worse. He may decide he doesn't want to be there anymore. I'm not going to make up a story that, oh, then that means he's going to be XYZ. But then if that means we stop the work on ourselves when it looks like we may lose him, then we've got our answer. This really isn't about me having the relationship I really want to have. This is about me hoping to do something or get some tools that will help me to manipulate him into being
Mm.
the partner I want him to be. So
Mm-hmm.
either he's capable, like I know with my late husband, there were things that I had to decide. And I talked a little earlier about we went through the challenges with infidelity. And when I really slowed down, I realized part of the reason that I found myself in this situation is because I had this very deep underlying belief that men will be men.
Right.
right? Men will be men. And so I did all this work, going to church and doing all this stuff, trying to drag him along, trying to make sure that he was going to do something different. But all of my choices were coming from the men will be men. And when I really got under that, the real honest truth was I didn't feel worthy of a man that was going to be faithful to me. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel I didn't feel comfortable with the whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of dealing with that really scary truth, I tried to dance around it. And when it finally came home to roost and we found ourselves in that tough place. Now it was all about it first. Why do I have to do any work on myself? He's the one that did it. But the reality was, I'm just as responsible for our partnership as he is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not responsible for his actions. But somewhere I am responsible for creating a climate
Right.
where he felt like it was okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's where I had to then do the work on me to go, oh my gosh, these are those unconscious, unspoken ways that I've said certain things are okay. And,
So, so what you're saying is that if you are working on yourself to improve
mhm,
your relationship, and your significant other and or spouse is not where you want them to be, they're not responding,
mhm,
you are still saying that the woman or the lead in the relationship is saying, you're telling us that we are still in need of more work, because the underline is that we're trying to get the spouse or significant others to shift to
yes,
our way of thinking, our mindset, to go in the direction of our need versus allowing them to be themselves and doing whatever it is.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And here's the interesting thing in the story. When I really shifted and it was about the kind of marriage I wanted to have, and I love you, and if you can't be this kind of partner to me, then I'm going to have to close this off because I'm doing some healing to close up certain areas, and I'm doing some healing to find peace in certain parts of my life. And if you don't work in these areas, it's no longer about all this to keep you. It's about I deserve a certain kind of life. Guess who all of a sudden wanted to go to therapy on his own? Guess who all of a sudden wanted to get a mentor who had been through infidelity himself and had found his way back and restored his marriage? Guess who went and got him a mentor? Guess who started doing all of these things for himself? None of the things I said to do. I never even said, if you don't do it, it will be.
Yeah, it wasn't an ultimatum. You basically said, this is what
No,
I'm doing, and
for
if
me.
right, and if you choose, you do whatever you want to do. It wasn't a message to him. You just took action.
Yep,
Okay, so what if, and I mean, I know you can't really predict this, but there are a lot of women in this place. What if they they don't respond and they decide that you go ahead, and I notice that you're changing yourself, and I notice you're trying to work on the relationship, and I can see the obvious shift in you, but I, being the mate, am still looking and saying, I'm not going to make any significant changes. I'm not going to do any more than I've already done. So you are then at a crossroads. You have to
yeah,
decide at that point if this is for you or not for you, based on the new place that you have moved to.
yeah. And there's
Mm-hmm.
just no way around it. And sometimes, like in my situation, what ended up coming out of that was my late husband, went through all the therapy, and as a couple, we got stronger. And then from that, we were able to mentor other couples who were going through that, and we were able to help other people. That was our path. But you may find that your partner just is not interested, and then that is where you've got to kind of either find your peace with, this is where I am and this is how it's going to be, and this is the kind of person I'm married to or in a relationship with, and that's peaceful to me. Or you're going to have to just make that hard decision, as to whether it's enough. And,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's not easy. That
No,
is
it's
not
not.
easy. And for something like that, I would encourage counseling and support,
Mm-hmm.
and someone to really walk you through that process of discerning whether this is something you want to continue with. But yeah, it's not an easy thing. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an easy thing. And we really have to be conscious of it. Because
Absolutely.
if the change isn't coming from within, and that is like, even with my own story, because that's a very important part of my story, what I learned about myself. the thing is that people go, well, what did you do? It wasn't the actions. It was I had to make some decisions and do some work inside.
Mm-hmm.
And when I made those choices, my reflection in the world changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have to threaten him. He knew I can't keep going down the old road. There's a stop there. She's not going there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I was very clear. I love you dearly, but I will not go through it took us 3 years of counseling, and I mean, it was work, you know, and that's why I work with women who've experienced infidelity. I just let them know it's work. It's not something that just, you know, flippantly dries up. Mm-hmm. Get in there and know it's for the long haul.
That's right.
Reestablishing trust takes work and time.
Absolutely. And that was critical. That's a very critical point, and that it does take time, and it's not an overnight type of thing. You pray for your miracles, you petition the Lord, you say, this is what my heart's desire. You do your own work, and you let everything else fall into place. And do not expect, and do not wake up every day. Is today today? Is he going to change today? Is today today? Is he going to do something different today? You got to stop that. You have to.
Know what? Yeah,
or get on the phone.
Stay or go.
Right. And then the worst of it all, telling other folk, hey, you know, do you think you can talk to him? Do you think you can tell him?
Because that's about control and manipulation.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So whenever we're controlling and manipulating, we're lying, we're not being honest, we're not being direct, we're not standing on our own principles and values, we're not honoring ourselves, and then we're wondering why our relationships looking the way they do.
Yes.
Well, because when I'm basically being dishonest in my very presence, it's not even a lie I'm telling out of my mouth. I'm not being honest behind the scenes. Then, you know, you create, that gives birth to something.
Yeah,
I remember very distinctly, this is about, well, gosh, he's been gone almost 7 years. So I remember about 13 years ago riding to work and going, okay, I decided to stay. I decided to go into counseling. We decided we were going to give it a try. And I remember thinking, if this is the best my life is going to be, I'm darn sure going to find ways to enjoy it. And it wasn't about him. It wasn't about our marriage, but it was about, I've got to find some peace here. You know, and again, my relationship, because this is where it all happens, right? Our relationship, all those thoughts bouncing around. So there's a way of aligning my thoughts with the direction that I want to go in, or there's a way of wanting to go one way, but my thoughts taking me this way. And where my thoughts take me or where my actions will follow.
Absolutely.
So even if I want very badly to go this way, if the other way is all I know and it's all I've learned and I have not taken the time to learn a new way, that's where I'm going to go.
Crystal, you said there was a one key word that you threw out there that I do not want the audience to miss, and that is values. What do you value? A part of the work is knowing what you stand for and what you're not going to stand for. It's a coaching moment, because I'm sure you ask your clients about their values, because a lot of times, a lot of people don't understand what they value. Sometimes we say families first, family above all things, family. I love my family, that's my highest value. My value is wrapped around loyalty. If I don't feel like he's loyal to me, if I don't feel like I am first, then I have to deal with the fact that I feel like I'm second all the time. I'm second to children, I'm second to work, I'm second to his mama. If you are in a place where you feel that he is not loyal, and loyalty is a huge thing, and it doesn't have to be infidelity. Loyalty is wrapped around other things other than infidelity. If you feel like loyalty is an issue, then you are betraying yourself, and you're sacrificing so much, and it's a slow death around that one value system.
And you know what you're saying is key, because if my partner isn't loyal to me, I'm not loyal to me. We can talk all day long, I'm loyal to me. No, because if I read this book, I don't know if you've ever read this book called The 4 Agreements.
Oh yes, Lord.
I love that book. One of the main things that jumped out to me in that book, and I was going through a painful breakup with a friendship when I was reading this a few years ago. We will not allow others to abuse us more than we abuse ourselves.
I know, that's so strong.
Yes, and when I abuse me, I hold a capacity. It's like abuse is like this. So I'm not loyal to me. The number one sign that I'm not loyal to me is I accept when other people are not loyal to me.
Yes.
I will never forget. I was talking with a woman, and she was like, her husband just took her for granted. He just ran all over her. She was tired of it. She was going to take a stand and leave. And I said, well, I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm not the one to tell you what you should do. But here's what I know. You take you for granted. What do you mean? I see people call you, and at the last minute, you adjust your schedule to meet their needs. I see people saying, can you do this? Can you do that? You don't say no. And then you hang up the phone and you go, oh, I'm so overwhelmed. Oh, I'm so stressed out. Oh, now I got to do this. Now I got to do that. So what I see is you not valuing you. You taking your time, your energy, your resources for granted. Now you've taught your husband and your child that it's okay to do the same.
Oh
Anytime,
God, that's huge. That's
right?
huge.
Because it's real talk, right? So anytime
Absolutely.
someone isn't loyal to me, I'm not loyal to me, and I've just taught them that it's okay. When someone's not honest with me, I'm not honest with me, and I've taught them it's okay. When I'm honest with me, and I ask someone a question and I know they're not being honest, I go, no, that's not okay. Wait, wait, wait. This doesn't feel truthful. This doesn't feel direct. I'm not comfortable with this. When I don't lie to me, but when I lie to me, I say, oh, it's okay, or they're probably busy, or they just forgot to say it. That's why they didn't tell me. I'm lying to myself.
Mm,
And now I want this person to give me something different.
mm.
They're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've made these choices and we've kind of wrapped ourselves up with with people that once we start to stand, and I think this is the scary thing when it comes to change. Once we start to stand, it does get scary. And sometimes it's our moms and our sisters and our boyfriends and our husbands that go, you're not the same. Well, what's wrong with you? You used to do this, you used to do that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, so then it's that thing of, whatever story we've told ourselves for all these years. Here's some of the great stories. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. That usually means I like to let people lie to me. That's
Oh,
usually what it means. I like to ignore what I know to be true and accept some fragging bull. That's just the truth, right?
yes,
Like,
it
I
is.
like to give people the benefit of the doubt. That's a sign that you probably like to let people lie to you. And instead of calling them on it, you found a way to give them the benefit of the doubt. I like to do on the other people is I would have them, you should give people what you would want them to give you. No, that sounds like you don't have healthy boundaries and you allow
Yes.
people, you give too much of yourself to people. And instead of going no, you don't know how to say no. Yeah, I know
Oh,
how to say no. Usually when you're spent and you're ready to use your cuss words, maybe even your multi-syllable curse words, now that's when you say no.
right.
And so these are signs that there's something going on with us. And then anything, and I'm going to say this to anyone watching this, anything that someone does to you that you don't like, you have somehow taught them that it's okay,
Mm.
particularly if they do it repeatedly. Now, someone
Lord have mercy. That's true.
but if they're doing it every other day and you're on the phone with somebody else complaining and saying things like, you would think he would know, okay? You would think he would know is code word for I'm not standing up for myself.
Oh,
That's what it is. It's code word.
that's right.
Because what keeps me from saying it?
Chris,
What keeps me from speaking my truth?
Crystal, just stop. Just stop. Just
Okay.
stop. It's just too much. I don't want these women cannot take all your good advice and all this wonderful coaching that you're giving right now and not pay for it. At the end of the day, I love you, girl, but I love you enough to keep you from spending all your time on this video. And oh God, help us, women, please. You've seen episode 1. If you haven't seen episode 1, you need to look for episode 1 with Coach Crystal Sylvester. Now you have finished off episode 2, and I'm going to tell you, you need to hire her as a coach. You need to first give her an email and get that free consultation. That's the first step. The second step is having a conversation with her to see if you are a good fit and if she is a good coach for you, if she's going to meet your need as a coach, that's the second step. The third step, if she does meet your need, hire her. Period. Bottom line. There are no other options. Whether it's a group session or individual one-on-one, whatever it is, just it's time to, we know Iyanla Vanzant has to say, do your work, do your own work. And it's not a cliche. That's a bottom line, absolute must do. You have to do the work, and it is about you. And sometimes sometimes we tend to feel that we're being selfish when we turn in the mirror and just look at ourselves and focus on ourselves. Sometimes we feel, especially if you're a mother, you tend to think that that is a very selfish thing to do. Well, ladies, it's not selfish, because as said in episode 1, if you are not being true and authentic to yourself, then it is showing up through negatively. It's showing up through as a parent or as a spouse, and you are not doing your best for them because of your dishonesty with yourself. So let's just get real, and you need to call and talk to Coach Crystal. Thank you so much for your
Thank you
time.
so much. And again, it's soulmatecoachcrystal.com. And also, earlier I forgot to mention, I'm also, and it's on my website, but I'm also on Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, fantastic.
And yeah, so blogtalkradio.com/soulmate-coach-crystal.
Okay.
And there are all kinds of podcasts there. Just like you were talking earlier, we have one on being a fixer, sabotaging love. Yeah, so there's tons of free stuff too. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of it, because, like you said, we have to do the work. And if we don't do the work, then we have to ask the question, what is it going to cost me?
Yeah.
What is it already costing me, and how much more am I willing to give? Because the reality is, if something doesn't change,
oh God,
I'm going to stay on the same path.
I know. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh Lord, we're gonna have to come back. I know that I pray that people will post their comments, because this was a very hot topic. I mean, we all have seen this, whether it's in our own relationships or relationships with our friends. We've witnessed it from afar. Refer these videos, refer Coach Crystal to your friends and your loved ones. If you see something or hear something that you think would be of value to them, please refer and share these videos. Thank you, Crystal. We have to have you back.
Thank you.
Feel
I'd
free.
love to come back.
Thank you so much for your time. Okay, you take care.
You too.
Do you think you can tell him?
Because that's about control and manipulation. Yes. So whenever we're controlling and manipulating, we're lying, we're not being honest, we're not being direct, we're not standing on our own principles and values, we're not honoring ourselves, and then we're wondering why our relationships looking the way they do.
Yes.
Well, because when I'm basically being dishonest, and my very